Welcome back, everyone, to Pack the Rock Podcast. It is Liv, Will, and Ava, and we are going to get right into it with this new game coming up, but we have to go backwards first. We have to talk about that Maryland game because a lot happened with IU that I feel like, I don't know, were we not expecting it? Okay, do just need first thoughts. First thoughts of the game when it hit fourth quarter.
I was surprised, to say the least. I mean, with how well the offense played, despite Rourke and Kalen Black turning the ball over as much as we did, I was really surprised at how well they handled that adversity. Not to mention the defense let up 21 almost straight between the second and third quarter, and the offense still being able to respond consistently despite the first quarter woes that they had. I was extremely impressed with how they played. And not to mention how well the defensive backs played as well. The secondary was great. Granted, Felton was out in like the second quarter, didn't come back, but still.
I think that made a difference.
For sure. I mean, that's the number one receiver in the conference, right?
Yeah.
And he just was gone. Audrey and I were sitting up in the press box, and we were like, where's Felton? Because we saw him going to the injury tent, and then he kind of limped in there, ran out, and we're like, is he just gone? That's it? You're going to call his day right there? Probably the biggest game of their season so far? He's just gone. So obviously, prayers up to him, whatever is wrong, but I mean, that made a huge difference, him being out, because Edwards couldn't really find anybody. The secondary was great. The defense looked amazing. They were getting pressure consistently. Obviously, they had that little bend there between the second and third quarter, but I mean, I was just overall impressed by the team.
Ava, you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way about Will. Surprised. I showed up to that game kind of late. I had something going on that morning, but I was listening to it in the radio as I was like zooming to the game. And just like hearing how the first quarter went down, I didn't really know what I was about to walk into. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know. And so I was really interested to see like how are they going to kind of build themselves back up and keep chugging forward, and what's that going to look like? And so yeah, I would say I agree with everything Will said, and I was thoroughly impressed to see how they kind of built back up and kept chugging through that game. So
they kept getting through the game and they ended up winning, but a big thing was Rourke. So first play, interception. Ended up another interception, and IU had 2 fumbles. So yes, they won, but it wasn't a perfect game. Where do you think that confusion came with Rourke on the field? Was it just jitters? Was it nervous? But we've never seen him really nervous this season. So that's why I think it was weird to kind of see him. Or was it just Maryland's play? They read IU like the back of their hand.
I don't think it was nerves, or I don't think it was Maryland's defense. It was just, honestly, I would assume it was the weather, because Rourke just missed his receivers twice.
Yeah.
All it was just overthrows. I mean, obviously he wasn't panicked. He came out after the first 2 drives. He still looked good after the first interception. It was just he missed a crossing route again and floated it right to a defender, which is what he did on the post route in the first offensive play of the game. It was just bad misses. I mean, it wasn't really anything else, and that's how Maryland's generated their turnovers. It's just bad misses by quarterbacks. We were talking about it last week with Childs and Michigan State, just overthrowing receivers.
yeah.
So it wasn't really Rourke. It wasn't like he was pressured a little bit, but still, it wasn't anything he hasn't seen, and it wasn't anything he hasn't stood through before. So I was kind of baffled with how bad those first 2 balls were that he threw.
And so, do you feel like, I can throw this to you, Ava, what did Maryland do that was so different than the other teams that made this game actually close, at least in the first half?
I think we just saw more pressure and attack from Maryland than what we've really seen from the other teams. Indiana has kind of gone into these games and shown up and pressured and attacked the other teams, but as far as that, I think being reciprocated to them, they didn't, they haven't really faced that. And so I feel like Maryland really came in with Maryland had a job. Maryland knew what they wanted to do, and they were going to do what they needed to do. And, I mean, eventually they wore down and it fizzled out, but I think Maryland just showed up with, like, you're going to come at us with big an attack. Well, we're going to do that too. So.
And last week we talked about, we didn't really see that IU had like a weakness. We were like, what is that weak point? What is it? Did we see it this last game? As teams looking at IU now, did they find, okay, wait, that's the little niche right there?
I mean, the only thing that I really have noticed is there's that one consistency with around halftime the defense bends, which they did again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They let them score before half, let them score coming out of half, and they scored on back-to-back drives. But that was it. And that's the only problem that we've seen over 5 weeks. And it's still the only problem I saw even last weekend. So all I've got right now is just, honestly, it might just be the defense isn't great coming out of halftime. I don't know what it is. It's so weird. And it's not like I wouldn't say they were complacent last weekend because they were still flying around the field. They were getting pressure, making plays, but it was like they just got drove on.
Yeah.
It's weird. I have no idea why it's happening.
I agree. I think that the bend in the defense around that halftime and stuff is kind of their forefront most obvious weakness that I think kind of shows up most for this team.
Regardless, IU won, and that crowd was giving a little something last game.
Oh my God.
They were loud.
Signetti sent out a whole thing that was like, we're breaking history, guys. You guys need to be there. And then it was like, oh, okay. I guess, so watch. He's going to send like an email or a text like every week now. And it was raining.
Yeah.
And they still got a crowd.
It was nasty.
I know.
It was
so gross out. And like, it was like we were walking down onto the field towards the end of the fourth quarter and they were still there.
Yes.
They
stayed until it hit 0-0-0.
there. And I was like, holy cow. And like being down on that field, like, I mean, obviously the press box like mutes a lot of the sound from the outside, but you could still hear a lot of it pretty strongly. And, I mean, down on that field, like, towards the end when they're chanting everything, like, sometimes I was like, I can't even hear my own thoughts right now. Like, they were really loud, and it was fun. It was fun to see, and I think the players really, really appreciated it. Because they got asked a lot about it in their post-game pressures, and they were like, yeah, that was great. But it's got to keep up. It's got to keep up. Right. You can't let it fall. You can't let it fall now.
And Signetti brought it up how many times in his own presser? I think we asked about it once, and he brought it up every other question. He goes, yeah, they played well. It was questionable. The crowd was great.
Yeah.
Like, that was every single answer he gave us.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing, Signetti said he wanted to change the tradition. He wanted to change the culture. And I think it's just also because of this team. And so I think the big thing is my next question is, what makes this team just so different from these past years?
They're on a mission.
Yep.
They're on a mission. I know Signetti has said it, but really if you watch them, like, they're on a mission. They know what they want, and they're really, like, meshing together. You know, we asked them a lot, like, too, especially with, like, you know, how... I lost my train of thought. Hold on. We, like, asked them a lot about, like, how they feel like, you know, you're playing with so many good guys and so many good guys in your position alone. Like, how does that work? How do you feel about that? And they're like, yeah, you know, like, it's competitive because it's football, but, like, everybody understands the main goal, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. They're working towards that, so.
And now being 5-0, first time since 1967. Jesus. My parents weren't even born, okay? And now they're ranked 23rd. Is that a fair ranking? They fall right under Louisville, and Louisville's 3-1, IU 5-0. Do we feel like that's a fair ranking to put IU after these first 5 games?
I mean, I would say it's fair enough for now,
okay.
Right? Their biggest one is Maryland, who's 3-2, and they're lost 2 conference games in the Big Ten. Outside of that, it's UCLA, who got blew out by LSU, got blown out by us, blown out by whoever else they've really played.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's not really other great wins under their belt. Granted, their stats are still top 10 in the country on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I'm sure they had to consider, which is why they kind of had to rank IU at this point. But I wouldn't say it's a bad ranking at any point. It's a good start for them. They, like we said, they haven't been in this record since, what is that, 58 years ago or something like that? 57, I think it is.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that's insane. But for not being ranked for the first time in 3 years, I would say it's a pretty good start for them.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting, too, is people are already talking about, well, how far is this going to go? How far is this team going to be undefeated? I think it has to be on the mindset, like, if they even lose one game, that ranking will probably drop. Unfortunately, I feel like. Because I feel like everything's so tight right now.
Depends who they lose to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it totally depends who they lose to. Depends.
And what it looks like.
Right. Depends how that game goes. I mean, say they lose this week, they'll drop out.
Right.
It's no debate.
Right.
if they lose in 3 weeks at homecoming, depending on where Nebraska's at in the rankings,
True.
that could drop them out. But it could keep them still around the low 20s. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But if they can hold on to it till Michigan, Ohio State, that kind of gauntlet part of the season, I don't think they'll drop out at all. By that point, they'd be, a legit team. They're going to be, 7, 8 wins at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a chance they can drop out if they lose that late in the season.
That's fair. How far do you guys see them going undefeated this season? How far do you think this will last, Ava?
I mean, the more that they go, and if they keep up with what they're doing and they keep improving week by week and getting better and better, I think 9-win Indiana is very possible. Okay. I don't really want to get ahead of myself and then have to later on and be
the fan base is fine with it.
They're
already calling Natty out there.
I think that 9-win Indiana is a possibility. I think that right now we still need to focus on game by game, not really chugging too far ahead. But I think that 9-win Indiana is possible.
Can we at least say that most likely IU will make a bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bowl year, right?
No,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that happening for sure.
Okay, and that could literally, and that's the crazy thing about it, is literally that could happen next game. IU could possibly go 6-0 and make a bowl against Northwestern Wildcats. Now they're 2-2. Win against Miami, Ohio, loss against Duke, win against Eastern Illinois, coming off a loss, and kind of a big one, from 5-24 against Washington. So when you guys look at Northwestern and you look at this matchup, I guess, what do you see so far? Because Signetti said the big thing was their defense. He really was honing in on. But what do you guys see from Northwestern so far?
On tape, there's not a lot. I'm going to be totally honest. Especially watching last week while they were in Washington, that offense couldn't generate any offense. The defense looked okay, which is why I'm assuming that he said that he's focusing on the defense, because they could cause a problem here or there. I mean, they have Washington. They got a safety out of Washington, which you wouldn't expect, right? So, I mean, they can make stops here and there, but the main reason they had that safety was they pinned him on the 1-yard line with a punt, which is a beautiful punt, by the way, but that's not here or there. They were able to generate pressure when they're on the goal line. They're not afraid to blitz, which is also what I'm assuming is Signetti's afraid of. But this team's picked up the blitz really well so far this season. Northwestern runs a 4-2-5, or they're running a 4-3, which is what Indiana's defense is. This isn't anything new that they haven't seen. They practice against it all the time. And their secondary looked really, really soft against Washington. The post routes were killing them.
Yeah.
Corner routes were killing them. So I don't see a lot on tape from the Northwestern team. I mean, this offense, they generated 3 points, and it was off a turnover and good field position. So I don't really see this as a trap game. I don't know why that's kind of a general consensus.
I don't see it either. I don't see it either. I agree with Will. I think that defense is going to be something that you've just got to keep your eye on. They're obviously going to be looking for any and every opportunity out there. So I think that that's probably what's going to give IU the most trouble. But their Northwestern's quarterback right now, Jack Lausch, he just took over the starting QB job the last 2 games, and he's got a 48.3 completion percentage. He's thrown for 2 interceptions already. I don't want to rule him out. Obviously, we could see Mike Wright come back in anytime and at center, and I don't know, but you could see a lot. You could see a lot happen there, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't know about that offense. I don't know about that offense.
The only thing that worries me a little bit is the fact that Northwestern's coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
So they're going to have 5 weeks of tape on IU. IU's only got the 3 games on Northwestern, 4 games now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. I mean, it's a favorable, situation for Northwestern, but I still don't think it's a favorable matchup.
Well, I think the thing is, Northwestern right now does look a little bit like a hot mess when they were going to bye week. I mean, playing two quarterbacks, both quarterbacks are throwing interceptions, and they just lost their leading rusher, Cam Porter, with a lower body injury, and he didn't play against Washington. And so he's not, IU doesn't know if he's expected to be back or not. He's averaging he has 44 carries, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 3 games. So if Northwestern honestly needs like every possible thing for it to go right for them in their home, which is an advantage. But IU's shown that they can play away at UCLA, no big deal. But what do you feel like IU's game plan is going to be? Do you think you see more of a passing game or a rushing game from them after the offense that they had against Maryland?
From what I saw against Northwestern's defense against Washington, is whatever they want on offense is going to be there.
Okay.
Because the pass game was open for Washington. Their defense wasn't really closing gaps. They kind of just shot out of their stance and stood straight up. So the run game is going to be there for IU. They can create holes to probably run them over if I was to be trying to predict anything. But I think it's just going to be their balanced offense like they've had all season. Work's going to probably throw the ball 20 to 30 times a game. They're going to run the ball 30 times. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be just, almost a perfect balance between rush and pass. And I would assume they're going to cruise through this defense.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And they've got the talent to do that perfect 50-50. It's not like they don't.
Right, the backfield's so deep.
Yeah, so, like, they're going to do... I agree with Will. I think they're going to do that 50-50. They might lean a little more into the pass or the rush, depending on how things kind of are working out in the game. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 50-50. They can do it. And they can do it well. They've proved that. They've proved that over and over and over again. So.
Right. And just look at last week. I mean, that run game was kind of what kept the momentum in IU's favor, right?
Yeah. And Justice Ellison is going crazy, guys. So they can do it.
Justice Ellison is kind of going crazy. And Omar Cooper Jr. is actually kind
of
going
crazy.
Omar Cooper's nice.
Like, what actually is going on?
His last game, I was like, okay, I see you. Like,
throwing him fade balls. It was head top every play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hilarious that we just said that because literally IU's offense is like what the main thing is. Our QB's going right and everyone on the field. And I'm pretty sure last game there was 10 receivers with receptions last game. Like, that's insane. And how does a team even come in with an attack plan if Rourke is finding people out there all over? Like, that's just insane. I know, Will, you just saw the...
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 10 people caught the ball last game. That's... Wow.
Like,
that's just nuts. I mean, I know they've been getting people involved, but I don't think they went over 8 at all. And that was against like Western Illinois when everybody was getting 8.
Yeah.
10 is nuts, especially in your biggest game of the year. Whoa. And, I mean, they were all making highlight plays, too.
Yep.
It was like, obviously, Omar was head topping.
Right.
Elijah, I think, head topped somebody. Then he had the touchdown.
Yep.
McCauley found the end zone. Horton had that stupid grab in the red zone. It was twisting and turning. And then I was in shock at that. I couldn't believe what I just watched. Cross had a nice reception, and Price made an impact. The running backs out of the backfield caught a couple screen passes, which was nice to see.
Yep.
I didn't realize how many people caught the ball, though. Still, that's... Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Signetti's just showing, like, the depth this team has. Like, it's not just one receiver.
Right.
Like, it's not like... I remember when we first talked, we said Donovan McCulley was out, and we were like, okay, does that really hurt the offense? And we were like, no, they have plenty of people that are going to come in. I mean, it definitely helped, though, with Donovan McCulley being in last game.
Him being back is still sweet, right?
Still awesome. It's another
having a 6'5" jump ball receiver isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just another asset to this team to have. It gives the other teams a lot to prepare for.
Yeah.
A lot.
God, I wouldn't game planning. I don't even want to think about how aggravating that would be.
I mean, it's not off the offense, just the defense, too. Our defense is just...
Oh, my gosh,
defense is insane.
Oh, defense is going
you have Aiden Fisher that's always going to be right there ready. Always. Not one quarterback IU has had a smooth, chill game.
No.
Not one.
I mean, there's pressure every single play, it feels like. I mean, IU's generating pressure at an insane rate. I don't know what the actual exact pressure rate is, but I would assume it's pretty high compared to most defenses. That's why they've got, one of the best defenses in the country statistically when it comes to yards allowed. Obviously, they allowed 28 and probably really should have allowed 21. That garbage time touchdown, I really don't count in my mind, but obviously it shows up in the stat sheet. But, yeah, Indiana's defense is flying around. Brian Haynes has this team has the unit humming like something I've never really seen
Yeah.
from a college defense outside of like SEC football, where half the defense goes to the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now IU has a great opportunity to continue to stay undefeated, like Ava said. I feel like this Northwestern game should be a good win. They might give them some struggles defensively, but I feel like it'll be a good win, and we're going to go into game score predictions. I have 41-14. And maybe that's giving too much grace for Northwestern. I don't know. But 41-14.
I don't know if they're going to put up 14. Especially last week. I don't know if they're going to put up 14, especially if the back's out again. Because obviously their run game is their strongest asset on offense. But
True.
I'll probably go like, I want to say 30s, but they keep scoring 40 every game. I'm going to say like 42-10 at this point. I don't know. They can't not score 40, it seems like.
Okay. Ava?
I say 42-14. 42-14. Yeah.
Okay. So we're all around the same.
We also had 4, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Northwestern has held each opponent, though, under 30. But we've seen that already before, and I feel like I just don't see IU going under 30 points this game specifically. I really don't.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me any.
It wouldn't shock me. I just don't think Northwestern's the team that's going to do that, though.
It's still a Big
Fair?
Ten defense. There's still going to be talent on that field. They held Washington under 30, obviously.
Yeah.
Washington was running the ball a good amount
True.
last game because they were up by so much, but still, I mean, Washington's defense isn't bad. As bad as I made it sound, they're not as bad as they really are. Like I said, they're holding teams under 30 every game, so... I mean, Indiana could go, maybe it'll be 28-10. I still don't think it's going to be a close game because of Indiana's defense and how well they're playing so far.
I could see it be, rule nothing out. It's the Big Ten, it's football. Rule nothing out. Count no one out.
Yeah.
Don't get ahead of yourself. But I could see it kind of getting close and holding close together, maybe for a little bit in a lower score. But then I see Indiana kind of running away with it towards the end.
I feel like as long as IU's defense doesn't let up towards, like you said,
Right.
like right towards the end of the half, don't let Northwestern come out of the half and score. I feel like then from there, it'll be a breeze. But IU this Saturday, Northwestern and IU will face off at Northwestern, and they will hopefully go 6-0 for the Hoosiers. It's another episode of Pack the Rock Podcast, and we will see you guys next week.